Let's talk about the biggest menace in JJK. And no, I'm not talking about Sukuna. I'm actually talking about the manga's official English translator, John Werry. This man has seemingly made it his mission to ruin JJK and burn it to the ground. These translations are awful. He doesn't understand basic concepts and gets things that are very, very clear completely wrong. And when he does get the translation technically correct, he does it in the worst way possible. The language used is like elementary and just jumbled. This is one of the reasons that leak culture is so prominent with JJK, and it's because these fan translations are far superior to the officials. And that is just crazy when you think about it, right? Leakers are doing a better job presenting the integrity of this manga than the official source is. And there are so many examples I could dive into, but I want this video to be anime friendly, so those of you that don't read the manga can see what I'm talking about. And also just to serve as a warning, if you do pick up the manga, obviously support the official versions, but you need to supplement your reading by looking at the fan translations, because otherwise you're going to be very confused and lost at certain points. So let's get into some examples, and let's start with this panel behind me, perhaps the most iconic panel in all of JJK. You don't even have to know what JJK is, and you probably have seen this panel if you're on the internet. It has been memed to hell and back. Nah, I'd win. Do you want to know how John Werry translated this? When I tell you that people were losing their shit when this came out, that would be an understatement. There was such an uproar that they literally went back and changed it. Something that gave us hope insofar as, hey, maybe this means the translations will be better from here on out. But no, they did change this, but that didn't solve our problem at all. All right, let's keep going. This right here is an example of one of the most egregious types of mistakes that John Werry does, and it's where he just gets stuff completely wrong that makes no sense. So up top is the fan translation, the one that is correct. Gojo obviously qualifies, Geto too, because cursed spirit manipulation could produce an entire army of monsters. Do you want to know what the official manga put this out as? Gojo and Geto both used cursed spirit manipulation to wield grotesque armies. What? The official manga is saying that Gojo has cursed spirit manipulation as a curse technique just like Geto does? How could you make this mistake? Anybody that knows like just the very base level of JJK would know this makes no sense. Like, not only did John Werry put out this abomination, but the fact it got past the English editors is just crazy. Here's another one I can show you from recently in the manga, but don't worry, this is a flashback panel, so there are no spoilers to infer from it. They have Gojo say that he can't do Black Flash because he has the 6 eyes. That is just so terribly incorrect. Gojo is more than capable of performing a Black Flash. He's explaining here that he can't just do them automatically because he has the 6 eyes. But somehow in the official version, they made it so that Gojo says he just can't do Black Flash. And there have been 3 or 4 examples of stuff like this recently in the manga, but I can't show you for spoiler warnings. It's a problem that has not gotten better. Actually, here's another one I can show you where the intended meaning was completely twisted by the official translation. So the fan translation says, "Truth is, hell would freeze over before I would fall in love with one of you two." And the John Werry version, "I was in love with one of you. That's something that would have never happened even if the world was turned upside down." So you literally walk away with the complete wrong interpretation if you read this bottom one. Because I think 90% of people read this and they assume, yeah, they were in love with one of those two. Something they thought would never happen even if hell froze over. When in actuality, it's saying, I would never love either of you even if hell froze over. Like, this is just one of so many examples. Next, let's take a look at a couple of instances where they technically got the information correct, but they just worded it in the worst, most confusing way possible. So again, up here, the fan translation. "If I don't make direct contact, I won't leave a fatal wound," just like it was with him. Although I wouldn't say they surpass him in toughness. And the official down here. "It doesn't need to be harder than that, but unless it makes contact and cuts equal to that guy's attack, it'll never deliver a fatal wound." Like, it's just needlessly complicated. You'd have to read this like 3 times to fully understand what was being said. And here's another example of it just being needlessly convoluted. The fan translation. "Assuming that the outburst of the cursed spirits in Shibuya using the manipulation technique was the largest in scale yet, Rika-chan's power was necessary to stop it." Compared to, Rika's strength would have been indispensable for reducing human fatalities if the out-of-control cursed spirit manipulation technique had caused cursed spirit discharge on a maximum scale in Shibuya. Like, I don't even understand what this one is saying if you hadn't have given me this one first. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to piece together the correct meaning from this. And then the third category of atrocity that John Werry commits on JJK is not fully conveying like the poetry of what Gege has written. Now, this isn't the best example of that, but it makes the point regardless. Basically, Werry will dumb down to like the most base level of what's being said instead of trying to convey like extra meaning that is oftentimes there. So here's a basic example. Okay, I'll give you a ride, but I want your points in exchange. I'll give you a ride, so give me your points, please. This type of thing is most egregious with Sukuna, who speaks very poetically. Like, Sukuna is from the ancient Heian era, right? And his speech patterns, like, represent that. And this is something that you have to talk to native Japanese speakers to, like, understand. This isn't something I just picked up from my readings of the manga, right? I'm relying on people on Twitter and in the community to tell me about how Sukuna is, like, using this poetic way to express what he's saying. And that is just completely lost in the officials. So here, Sukuna is saying, I was born a cursed, unwanted little wretch. That much I can say. But in the officials, this was translated as, I was a creepy kid. And I actually just wrote this one out because I didn't want to show the panels to give away any type of contextual spoilers, but Werry's translation just robs it of all of its life. So again, the fan translation up here. Character 1 is A, character 2 is B, right? An attack from above? Sorry, pal, but I made a promise. You're not going anywhere. I haven't the slightest interest in you. Can't blame you. Compared to the Werry version. Someone's above me? Sorry, but I made a promise. I've got to stop you. That's news to me. Yep, sure is. Sure is. And I cannot stress to you enough that these examples I'm showing you are just scratching the surface. Again, I can't show you some of the most egregious ones for spoiler warnings, but I'm not alone. Like, there have been multiple change.org petitions to get Viz to replace John Werry. This one was from last year, but this one is from like a couple weeks ago. And it's not only JJK. John Werry has been a menace to the manga community for some time. Here is just one example from 3 years ago where the One Punch Man was complaining about him. This man has done disgusting work. Like, it legitimately baffles me how, again, something this mainstream, this popular, could have such a bad official translation. This is how I imagine John Werry just like sitting in front of his computer each week, deciding how he's best going to ruin it this time. It's crazy. Anyways, shout out to Gerhard for this sponsored video today. Thank you. I think I needed to vent. I think I needed to get that out. But yes, I definitely think a lot of the confusion that comes from JJK's manga audience is because the official translation is so bad. So I would encourage all of the rest of you to, again, support the official, but start supplementing your reading by checking out the fan translations. It will clear up a lot. As always, y'all, thank you for watching.